Coming up next on the Jeff Crilley Show, you'll meet an immigration attorney here in Dallas. He says his phone calls have been tripling in the last few weeks. We'll explain next.
Many are predicting that the worst is yet to come, which is unfortunate, said one person here. Until now, they've enjoyed the reputation of being the nation's icebox.
Watched a burglar in his home this morning by webcam.
As a journalist of over 25 years, stories are what make my world turn.
Reporting live from the Dallas newsroom tonight, Jeff Crilley, Fox 4 News.
But in 2008, I took the jump from my familiar life and started a PR firm from my home.
We're talking about anyone with a camcorder like the one I'm using becomes a television network.
We started slowly growing the company, and we now have over 100 clients, and we've branched into the world of live digital broadcasting. I now own 8 different TV studios and have a huge team, and the stories that I now get to share are sometimes the most important of my life. Life has a funny way of coming around full circle. This is the Jeff Crilley Show.
Well, immigration has been all over the news. You can't watch a single television station without seeing something about what Trump is doing these days, and that is causing a windfall for the people who are in immigration, helping people become legal. And I think we can all agree that everybody wants legal migration. Luis Rojo is in studio. He's with Rojo Steele. Thanks for coming on the show.
It's a pleasure. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Appreciate it.
Well, let's go back to the early days.
Sure.
When did you know you wanted to become an attorney?
Oh, I can trace it back, kind of like an anecdote. Back in like the late 90s, Dr. Phil was very prominent there with Oprah Winfrey. And he would talk about like psychology and how it affects our day-to-day lives. And I was fascinated by that. So like the precursor to me being interested in law was actually being interested in psychology. I picked up one of his books, I read more about him, and he had like a firm that did jury consulting. So he was like marrying these two like very like interesting concepts to me at the time. So I think that sparked, and then my undergrad was in psychology.
Wow.
With knowing that I was going to go to law school. That was always my plan. So having those two interests like really aligned, and that's what's propelled me to a legal career.
And I would say just having that kind of background and that interest in psychology is so important, because so much of your success is how you relate to clients.
That's
and
correct.
The clients that you're getting right now, many of them are very panicked.
They are, and you really have to tap into their humanity and give them a strategy, not only for legalization, but in order to make good life decisions, how to maximize their ability to thrive. So I think one of the things I'm most passionate about is making sure my clients understand their path to success in life. And I want to share with them the gift of the United States, so I can make somebody a resident, a U.S. citizen that fills me with pride, because I know the opportunities that this country offers. So that's what really gives me like my motivation and what gives me joy in my work.
Tell me one of your favorite success stories.
Sure. So one of them that was very uplifting to me, and I hope I don't get emotional on this one, but it was a young man who had an avenue for relief. He was here and he was undocumented. He came as very young, and his father was a U.S. citizen. And one of the curiosities of law is that once you turn 18, that's whenever these exclusions start accumulating. So after the age of 18, every day that you're here without status, it starts counting. And if you get far enough, then you have exclusions. So we had to sit down and have a very serious conversation about his life in the future, because he was about to turn 18. He was still in his senior year of high school. And my advice to him was, well, if you don't want to complicate this further, then you must leave by this date, 18 and 6 months, before you start accumulating any time that would exclude you. So of course, the mother, being very protective, she was terrified of this happening. But this young man made a very mature, very adult decision in departing the country and actually waiting it out in order to do the entire process, which is administrative. It takes a while. So I was very encouraged by somebody having that much fortitude and wisdom at that very young age. And things did get complicated because it was the pandemic also, which was good and bad, because in his situation, he feared that he wouldn't be able to complete school. Because of the pandemic, it turned out that he could do it now remotely. So he made the decision, went to Mexico, finished out the year remotely.
Wow.
And then he was able to come back.
And what great advice. And you're not alone. You have an amazing partner. Let's go ahead and
I do.
Yeah, let's show her a video.
I was born in the Rio Grande Valley, but I am first-generation American on my mom's side, who is from Monterrey, Mexico. Growing up in the Rio Grande Valley gives you a unique experience into the clash of both cultures. It's been a really interesting way to see things growing up, and it's kind of what led me to being an immigration attorney in the first place. The primary goal of Rojo Steele is to provide a seamless client experience and make our clients feel like they're not just another number. They're important to us, and we know that this is an extremely frustrating time in their lives, and we want to be able to walk with them hand in hand in this journey. Our purpose is to be able to make this seamless and integrate into their lives as best as we can, because we know that it's complicated and we want to be there to support them. Our promise to our clients is that we're going to be their guides throughout this entire journey so that they feel comforted in the representation that they have chosen to move forward with in obtaining their status.
Wow, I think it's very fortunate that you have such a high-powered attorney as your right hand.
Thank you so much for showing that. It really, makes me happy. Like, this was a complete journey that started about this time last year,
Yes.
where we decided to, go out on our own. And, it's wonderful to see that, because it brings back memories of us doing that shoot and really like trying to build something, and it's wonderful. And my partner is great. We, nothing but all-stars, at our house.
Well, in the U.S., I know that a notary has a certain status here, but in Mexico, notario is a legal representative. So
Yeah.
I know that there are these firms here in Dallas that are they advertise that they will help you with immigration, but they're not really they're not a lawyer.
That's correct. I'm not sure about the terminology in Mexico. From what I was explained, like from somebody who lives there, is that you are a licensed attorney after about I think it's 5 years of undergrad education. And then there's a special certification that's called notario in order to do like more high-level transactions like real estate. So that's how they use the term. And here, people who are trying to practice law, unlawfully, use that term in order to confuse the population. Say, "Oh, we're notario," and in their mind, they're like, "Oh, great! So not only are they an attorney, they're a notario. This is fantastic." So there's people here who take advantage of that, that word, basically.
And that's so unfortunate, because I guess somebody could come here, try to become legal, but they're going to somebody who's really not a licensed attorney.
And there's no consequences for them, unfortunately, because they can just, pack up and, move somewhere else if something goes wrong. If something goes wrong, it's us who have to clean up the mess they've made without any consequences. So when an attorney messes up, there are clear consequences.
Sure.
There are bar complaints, there are, a number of things that, so when we, do work, we stand behind it because of the consequences. So trusting somebody who has nothing to lose is certainly a dangerous proposition.
Yes. We're going to pull up your website. As we scroll down the website, you were telling me that last year was a fairly mild year for you, but this year is just kind of going off gangbusters.
Sure. So starting out, like one of the challenges is how do people know we exist? So fortunately, I built a long career, had like several contacts. So I've been able to do like outreach, community outreach, and that sort of thing. And that's gotten us, so far, because there wasn't that much motivation in the community as there is now. So obviously with the Trump administration, people want to know where they stand. They're now highly motivated. And these are people who also have an avenue. A lot of them do have an avenue, and they never really explored it because maybe they were fearful, but now that they have the motivation, that's when we're getting the influx of calls.
How long does the process take these days? Because I know the immigration courts are backed up. If somebody wants to do it the right way and do it legally, how long does it take for them to become a citizen?
Wow, okay. It can be as short as a couple of years or as long as 30. Really? Or in the case of in employment-based, I know the visas for Indian nationals is backed up to exceeds life expectancy. Wow. Like we have visas that are backed up for 100 years, something crazy. We don't deal in business immigration, but let's say you had a brother in the UK.
Yes.
And you wanted to petition for him. Well, we can expect that wait time to be about let's say like 14 years. If your brother was Mexican born, that would be about 21 years.
No kidding.
So it really depends. There's different categories, like level of precedence, basically. If you're a U.S. citizen who's petitioning a spouse, quicker, a couple of years perhaps. Child, same amount. But once that relationship starts coming out of the nuclear family, that's whenever you see the very long wait times.
It's like, Luis, that you help people sleep well at night, because I have to imagine if you're in the country illegally and you've not contacted an attorney like yourself, you're constantly scared, aren't you?
Sure, like the first step to combat fear is knowledge. So definitely right now, like a lot of the calls, maybe I can't do anything for them, but my responsibility is to let them know what their rights are and what their situation is so they can make good decisions for themselves and their family. So very much like I'm trying to provide a peace of mind through knowledge.
And Luis, describe the phone call that you're getting these days. Is it somebody who is panicked, or how would you describe the phone call?
They're not. The situation when I see them panic is whenever they have a family member who is currently detained. I don't know where they are. Last I heard, they were, along this route, and not being able to locate a family member, that's excruciating. Yeah. So I get those, and also general ones where like, okay, well, I entered, this year, and I wanted to apply for asylum. A lot of asylum calls, for sure, because of the recent influx of those type of migrants.
Yeah. What does it feel like to have success with a client?
It feels incredible to share the opportunity of being in the United States. I think that's a great gift, and especially someone who is young, who has their whole life ahead of them. If I can get somebody status, and I consider myself an importer. I am importing persons to live their lives here safely in the United States, and that's great joy when you can deliver that to somebody and see the optimism in their eyes of their future.
Yeah. We mentioned your business partner off the top of the show. Tell us what makes your partnership work so well.
Our partnership works because we have a shared vision. You have to choose very selectively when you're going in, with anybody. It's trust, it's shared vision, and also having the same level of expertise and knowledge, because you have to be completely, in sync with that. So we have the same vision. We want to provide a boutique experience for clients. We want them to have access to the lawyers. We don't have the interested, like, oh, let's, grow, or like, what's the tech term, like grow or die, something like that. Like, that's not the vision we have. The vision is to have a client who knows us, gets to know us, and refer, have a good network, and be able to have sustainable growth. We're going to grow, be sustainable, and not deal in high volume. I think we want to be a boutique service.
Yeah, and I know there are very large immigration firms out there. Why does a boutique firm make sense for a lot of people?
I think our clientele definitely wants to have that contact with the attorney. That's one thing that they're accustomed to. When I hire a lawyer, I'd rather not actually talk to a lawyer myself. I'd much rather deal with a legal assistant. But that's my perspective. I don't need to be reassured. Right. I can do my own investigation. I'm a lawyer, so I trust the system, and I understand the way they do business. I know how law firms work. But our clientele, like, they want that connection. They want to be able to rely on you. So that's why I think in our business, having a boutique experience is important for the client.
Okay, Luis, if somebody's watching this right now and they're saying to themselves, I think I might need to contact Luis, how does it work? Is it usually a phone call or a face-to-face, or how do you operate?
It's however they prefer. I prefer face-to-face. I rather connect with somebody. So we have options of phone consultations. You call our office, you'll be scheduled with an attorney, myself or Priscilla, whoever you'd like to speak to. And then we'll schedule you in person, phone, speak to you about what is possible. Also in cases of detention, like also, take quick action in that. We offer free consultations right now, so anybody can call at any time, a scheduled consult. So you have nothing to lose. I want to know how I'm situated. I want to speak to an attorney. I want to make sure I'm not speaking and getting advice from a legal assistant or a notario or somebody else.
Yes.
So we provide that access.
Wow, I can see why you're so successful.
Thank you.
Maybe as we end this broadcast, look into the camera on the left and talk to the person who really needs to call you.
If you haven't taken action, if you know you may have something, you have a U.S. citizen spouse, parent, child, if you haven't taken action, you've never spoken to an attorney, now's the time to do it because you want peace of mind during these times. And it is a very low investment to speak to an attorney, whether you choose us or somebody else, but one should know where they're situated. So I would say my call to action is that everybody should know how they're situated at this time.
Outstanding. Thanks for coming on the show. We're going to end with
pleasure.
You bet. We're going to end with the website, which is rojosteele.com. The great Luis Rojo. Thanks for coming on the show.
Thank you, sir.
You bet. That's it for now. We'll see you next time.